Good day, and welcome to Flight Dreams, or welcome back to Flight Dreams. You can see today we're in the Airbus A320neo by Air Canada. We're just loading up the baggage and the catering. And this livery on Air Canada is the old Trans-Canada Airlines livery, predecessor to Air Canada. So, while the ground crew is getting everything ready, it looks like they're almost ready to go. Let's hop in the plane and see if we can get our end ready, and we'll be off and running. So we've already got the battery on, ground power's there. We click available, strobes on, turn the ADIR, which is our GPS system. That'll take about 7 minutes to align. I like to get the lighting in the cockpit just right for me, where I like it. So we do that now. The systems are starting to warm up. If you noticed, oh, you haven't seen any day. I don't think I've done any nighttime flights. There we go. Nighttime flights have you don't put the lighting on quite as high. So first thing we need to do is check the fire systems. Perfect. Now, one thing we don't see, and I'll show you here, is, I believe it's this panel here. When we check the fire system, you notice how everything on the left side there comes alive, and you can see what's going on. Unfortunately, you can't look at two places at one time, so I do the test. I know that it is working, which is great. Now we can turn the emergency lighting system on, no smoking on, but I can't turn the seatbelt sign on yet. That's because we still need to take fuel on board here. So let's do that. Turned on our electronic flight bag. You've seen pilots walk through the airport carrying this big suitcase behind them. Well, now this tablet takes the case of that big suitcase with all their flight plans, maps, charts, etc. Flight train. We are connecting to the system. Sim brief. That's actually where all the flight planning is done. I did that beforehand. Checked it all out in the pilot room. Always loaded it in here, which is great. Dispatch. Fuel. Well, this is in kilograms. We'll put this to real. What we want to do is go back here and see how much fuel. This is sim brief, gives us our flight plan. Lots of information. Our map, which we'll look at in a minute. More information about the flight plan, etc., etc. So the fuel we need, 12,925. Let me just convert that. So I do have an app to do that, make it very easy for me. So 12,925 is 5,863. 5,863. So here we want to put in 5,863 kilograms. It's refueling. You can actually watch those blue lines go up. That's how much fuel is in the plane, but we won't do that at the moment because we have a lot of other things to do. So know when the fueling's stopped is there. So let's get to the MCD. The MiG-2 is our flight management computer. I still use, I'm a Boeing guy, still use their terms. So we've initiated a request. Let's get rid of that. Flight number is 227, going from Montreal to Halifax. It'll be 1 hour and 3 minutes from wheels up to touchdown. Come over here. We don't have to load the fuel. That is being done automatically, but we do have to put in our payload. 158 passengers on board today. So, come back here to the flight management computer. Just make sure we have the correct air rack cycle. It's good during this time period. It gives us all the up-to-date routes, navigation charts, etc. in the world, all stored in one database. So init A, request, and there we are. We can go back to our flight plan. YQM is our alternative, our alternate. Here we are, which is Moncton. 227 is our flight number. Cost index, which is how fast we'll be flying, is 8. We're flying at 39,000 feet. That checks out. So before we go ahead, let's just see actually where we are flying. Montreal, across northern Maine, and into Halifax. Montreal is Charlie E. Yankee Uniform Lima. Halifax is Charlie Yankee Hotel Zulu. On Navigraph charts here, we'll follow along. Let's pull in closer to the airport. We'll see that's actually where we are here. Let's close that down. And bring up the communication with air traffic control, actually with the tower at this point. This was clearance delivery.
Montreal ground, Air Canada 227 IFR to Halifax, ready to copy.
Air Canada 227 is clear to Halifax Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 24 right climb and maintain 9,000 feet. Departure frequency is 132.85 squawk 0631.
And that will be our unique squawk code.
Air Canada 227 cleared to Halifax Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 24 right climb and maintain 9,000 feet. Departure on 132.85 squawk 0631.
Air Canada 227 read back direct. Contact ground on 121.9er.
We'll just
Montreal ground, Air
now.
Canada 227 with Golf ready to taxi IFR.
Air Canada 227 taxi to and hold short at runway 24 right using taxiway Charlie cross runway 28 Bravo. Contact tower on 119.3 when ready.
We'll accept that.
Taxiing hold short runway 24 right via taxiway Charlie cross runway 28 Bravo Air Canada 227.
We can often change that runway. It has to be in the same direction for the wind, but we can't change it. So let's go to our flight plan. Montreal, departing 24 right. And we're going to use the Montreal departure 1. Let's insert that. Halifax. Arrival. Just have a look here. Our fairing is complete. So that's great. So that's complete. Let's go up here and turn seatbelt sign on. So right now, winds are 220 at 13. So we're going to be coming in probably on runway 23. So ILS 23. I know we're coming in on the Fundy 4 arrival. And I believe it's DUTIR, which is already in there. Let's just check our charts. Here's the Fundy arrival. We should be coming in here. We will double check this. We're coming up here to Dieter. Or Duter? Sometimes these waypoints, not quite sure how to say them. And then There's the chart. Now what I don't have here, that's interesting, and let's pull it up. I want to put in approach for 23. There we go. Let's pin that chart so we've got it. See, there's that deuter right there, so that is great. That's what we want. So we'll come back here. Deuter 20, I know it's 23 deuter, funded for arrival. Let's put it in. Clear this, go back to flight plan. Now we got to make sure that it actually worked. And our flight plan does look correct, so I'm going to straight out from Montreal. Let's put that in right now. And we know I didn't pull that one up either because it didn't stick. Montreal, open charts, set the standard instrument departure. Montreal, there we go. 237 will be the heading we will take right off the runway. Sometimes it's automated totally, sometimes it's not. This time it's not, so we're going to put 237 into the heading. Close this. So move the range out. And we just want to proof here. As I move this button, press that button, our map will move. Now that doesn't look right. Ebony down to Alex. Let's check that out. Before we come in on Ebony, it's sending us down there to Alex, which is wrong. We should be coming straight in here. So I want to clear Alex. Insert that. I could have just gone from him. Sometimes I like going back instead of going forward. So you can see here, BAFTI, which is wrong again. We don't want BAFTI. Oh, back up. Right there, so Ebony, and a clear BAFTI. And we can look here. We'll go to Ebony. The yellow line is the proposed. It's great, gets rid of BAFTI. Goes to MOVX. Didn't put this waypoint in, but that's okay. From there, we should be going here. It's taking us down to Cook, which appears to be wrong. Totally wrong. We should be coming up here to Logboat, not there. So let's clear this out of there. Sometimes it won't let me do it. I'm still not, let's see what happens if we insert this. Still not 100% on using this flight management computer. There we go. In the Airbus, I'm more comfortable with the Boeing. Let's see if we can, in between MOVX and Deuter, put in Logpo in here. So it should show up in there. So we do here MOVX, next waypoint, LOGPO, enter. Let's just see how that did. Moving the map again. Ebony MOVX didn't take. Maybe it did. Well, let's just see. Insert it. It did, which is fantastic. Let's go back to the airport here. Close this. So if I reduce the range of the map, see here, we'll fly to Logpo, up to Deuter, and then back in, which is fantastic. That's what we want. So put this back to ARC. I like to have this on 10 nautical miles. Constraint, flight director. On this side, I like to have this one, the range to be 320. Again, constraint, flight director. So that is all set in. So init A. We have to click here. It brings up the information, puts it in here, which is great. Fuel planning, confirm the block fuel. It is 5.860. I put in 5.8, round down. 5.8, round down. Let's go back to our flight plan. Here, positive wind of 74, which means we have a tailwind of 74 degrees. Sorry, 74 degrees, it's 74 knots. Fairly strong. I would have expected this cost index, which tells the plane how fast to fly, up around 20. It's down at 8 because we have such a strong tailwind. The plane doesn't have to go as fast because it'll be pushed along, therefore saving fuel. So that is kind of a neat feature. So positive 74. So click to get the positive in there, 74, and put it in there. We should get TL 74 tailwind. Okay, now let's go to this little app, website rather. Put in Montreal. What are we in? We are in metric here. Metric, so we'll keep that. We'll get the METAR. I'm gonna have the packs on, that's fine. Kilograms from here. Takeoff weight 63,200. Mach 0 is 30 is the center of gravity. And then the heading, runway was 24 right, calculate. And here, flex of 61. We'll be using that. The flex tells it you don't always have to take off with full power. And that calculation tells it what to take off at. So 1 degree flaps, 61 on the flex. Here we can just click these. It shows up the V1, VR, V2. V1 is once you hit that, coming down the runway at 130 knots, you have no choice but to take off. You cannot stop the plane safely. VR is rotate, where you pull back on the yoke or the stick, and we start to fly. 135 is the speed you have to hit should one of the engines go out. All of those parameters will be put into here in the speed tape automatically. Transition altitude in North America is 18,000. That's where we go on the altimeter from actual to standard. And speaking of which, let's put it in now. The altimeter is 2963, low pressure. So this will cause the plane to accurately read or indicate our altitude. If this is not corrected, we'll have the wrong altitude. Not too bad when you're up in the air, but when you're coming into land, taking off, not a good thing, obviously. So that's there. That's all done. Come back to flight plan here, and you'll see that speed has automatically been input based on what we did. We have put in 9,000 feet last for higher. So the plane will automatically climb to 9,000 feet based on our inputs, and the speed will be based on our inputs. So now let's click on predictive wind shear. I'm going to lock that, lock the cockpit door so nobody can get in. Safety. I want to put on the APU so that we can take off the ground power. And we should be able to over here. Can we do it there? Should be able to ask to have that taken away, but fuel, baggage, external power, door forward. Might have to do it through here. Still not
Montreal ground Air Canada 227, could you please disconnect the jetway from the aircraft?
And there it goes. Doors are all locked up tight. So we're waiting for the APU to warm up so we can kick it in. Meantime, crew supply air, oxygen on, fuel pumps on. Air conditioning looks a little bit warm back there. This is about 21 centigrade. That's about where it needs to go. We need to put the navigation light on. And we're just waiting for that APU to kick in. You'll notice this sign keeps on coming up here. It tells me where the simulation wants me to taxi. I go out here, follow the blue line. I do put this on when I'm flying in the game with in-game ATC. When I'm flying FlightSim, I do not use this. Sometimes what the game wants you to do is not readily apparent because the taxiways aren't always listed correctly in the game the way they are in real life. And the charts that you're looking at are real life charts. So let's call for the tug for pushback. This is here. We've told them we're getting ready. APU is available, and it has available light there. Put the bleed on, take the external power off, which means we're unhooked. Beacon on. Once the tug is attached, we are ready to push back. Very dull day here in Montreal. There, the tug is attached. So, parking brake off. Start the clock, which is gate to gate, and push back. See, we are pushing back. So, ignition on, start engine 2. In here, N2 is rising. We'll keep an eye on that exhaust gas temperature, the EGT, and the N1. I have to do this because we are going to go outside the cockpit. Exhaust EGT rising. Stop the pushback. Set the parking brake and release the tug. So here, the tug is going. And there we are. So we're at 19.5 here. Start engine 2. N2 rising, EGT rising. Well, we're waiting for that to come out. I'm going to skip ahead here in the checklist. I'm using the checklist. Transponder on. This lets all the radar know where we are. Propede should be auto. It is spoilers. Arm flaps here set to 1. Anti-ice not required. The plane would be telling us. Auto brakes to max in case we have to abort. Nose light on. Runway turn-off lights on. And we're unavailable here, so park and brake with our radar on. There we go. Oh, looks like there's some precipitation out here. So what we want to do is, first of all, before we go anywhere, we'll check our controls. So left rudder should actually be down here. Let's look at the controls. So flight controls. There we are. Left rudder, right rudder, elevator forward, elevator full up, ailerons full left, ailerons full right, flight controls free and clear. Back here to system. I want all. That's where we want at the moment. So we are ready to go. So to the left, that's where we're going. It's throttle here. And we're off on our way to Halifax. Right now is when your flight attendants would be starting to give their briefing. You can turn the APU off. We did check the takeoff config. Everything is fine. This cabin check still shows up in blue. Can't change that. Pull back a little bit on the throttle. We don't want to go too fast in the taxi. Straight line's not too bad. Turns, we don't want more than 10 knots. 90-degree turn if we can help it. And around the terminal, we don't want to go too fast either. Lots of planes around, lots of trucks, lots of people walking around. Any flights that you see today, planes up in the air, will be live traffic. It's actually happening in the real world. About a 5 to 10 minute delay. But they are real world flights. You could look up and find that plane. Nothing to the right. So we're going to cross a runway here. So prudent. Nothing in the left, nothing to the right. So fine to cross. Always make sure safety first, and we are responsible for our own safety. Just because air traffic control tells us to do something doesn't mean we should be doing it. So the general rule of thumb flying is aviate, navigate, communicate. So make sure you're flying the plane first. Make sure you're navigating the plane where you need to be for safety. Then get back to air traffic control should you need to. Since we will be turning left when we leave the airport, runway of choice would have been 24 left instead of 24 right. However, it's closed for repairs. Who knows what? It's not in operation this afternoon. So we're going to make a turn here. Nothing coming. Nothing coming to our right. I didn't slow down a bit. Don't want you, any passengers in the back there, leaning over too far. Want to be a comfortable ride. And we just basically head right down to the end of the taxiway. Let's just see how we're doing here. So we started here, came out around, down here, heading down to the end of the taxi. and then off we will go. Know where we are, so I'll get rid of that chart. Montreal departure. We'll actually come up here. So sometimes there's a lot of waypoints coming out of a departure, not in Montreal, straight out, so we can just ignore that chart. Come in. Downtown Montreal is here, Old Montreal. So we're at 120 feet in altitude above sea level. General rule of thumb is 3,000 feet above the airfield when you're in a jet, commercial jet. You can make your turns, not before that, in a general aviation aircraft such as the Cessna 172, CB5, Warbird, Spitfire. It's 500 feet, and that's for noise abatement. We wouldn't want to have too much noise from homes that are below us, businesses. You'll find that in the game, I will get the ability to turn from air traffic control and the approval to turn before the 3,000 feet, 3,100 feet. I'll wait to the 3,100 feet before I make my left turn. And head to right there, Kebgo is our first waypoint, 134 degrees from here, 26 nautical miles. And at this rate, we'd be there at 1957, which GMT time. You can see it's 1909. That will significantly go down when we get up in the air. And this dotted line is pointing to where that waypoint is. So right now I'm going to put in our co-pilot do all of the air traffic control. There's a lot for me to do. Flying the plane, put it on tower. So I'm going to let her handle all of the communications so I can fly the plane. Hold back on the throttle. This is where we were told to wait. Hold short.
Montreal Tower Air Canada 227 ready for IFR departure runway 24 right.
Air Canada 227 cleared for takeoff runway 24 right.
So no one left or right, but the throttle's
Cleared
up
for
a
takeoff
bit.
runway 24 right Air Canada 227.
Landing lights on. Taxi up to takeoff position. Sometimes we just go right away if we've been asked no delay from air traffic control because there's a plane inbound. We need to vacate the runway as quickly as possible, but not today, so we'll just hold the airliner up. And we are ready to go. So let's push the chronometer, which appears here. Put the plane's engines to 50%. Everything is fine. And we'll move the throttles forward to the flight management. Where excuse me. The computer on board is handling all of my speeds now. Speed Y, V1, rotate. And we're airborne. Positive rate of climb. Gear up. See here, the gear is going up. Which is great. And we'll see it here.
Air Canada 227 contact Montreal Center on 132.85.
Going to 132.85 Air Canada 227.
Not a lot of sightseeing can be done.
Montreal Center Air Canada 227 is climbing through 1,400 feet for 9,000 feet.
Air Canada 227 Montreal Center continue to Kebgo as planned. Altimeter 29.63.
So 2963, we don't have to change that. We did get our okay to go to Kebgo. We will wait to the 3,100 feet though. Coming up here, we can hit that S can raise the flaps, which we'll do now. Flaps up, 3,100 feet. We're going to turn to the left towards Kebco. Kebco's 126 degrees, so we'll wait until we get flying directly there, and I'll do a direct too, so we don't have to backtrack on the course. This is our speed limit here, below 10,000 feet, 250 knots. Plane will automatically keep us there. Level climb now. Sun came up, so put it back here to climb. And there we go, we're starting to get into a bit of clouds. Downtown Montreal there, you just saw airport. So we're heading towards Kebco. Let's direct to Kebco input. There we are. Line is now heading right to it. I do want to ask to go higher.
Montreal Center, Air Canada 227. Request flight level 270.
Air Canada 227, climb and maintain 9,000 feet. Expect flight level 270.
Climb and maintain 9,000 feet. Expect flight level 270, Air Canada 227.
So you'll notice that when air traffic control comes on or my co-pilot comes on, I do stop talking. So
Air Canada 227, climb and maintain flight level 210.
Might be some information that we need.
Climb and maintain flight level 210, Air Canada 227.
So you can see there was some information that we needed. And this is typical. The pilot flying does not talk to air traffic control. The pilot not flying does. So I'm going to ask to increase to 10,000 feet.
Montreal Center, Air Canada 227. Request
Icing.
flight level 370.
Air Canada 227, climb and maintain flight level 210. Expect flight level 370.
Climb and maintain flight level 210. Expect flight level 370, Air Canada 227.
And severe icing. Put the wing on, wing icing on, we had engine icing, wing icing. Severe engine. Did not ask us. Oh, there we are. Ignition is still on. We didn't turn it off to normal. It's fine. We got to go up 37. We want 39,000 feet. So up by 2 more.
Montreal Center, Air Canada 227. Request flight level 390.
Air Canada 227, climb and maintain flight level 210. Expect flight level 390.
Climb and maintain flight level 210. Expect flight level 390, Air Canada 227.
So we're above 10,000 feet. Lights off, warning lights, taxi lights, etc. And seatbelt sign come off. You will now get in-flight service. Severe icing detected is gone. We can put the ignition back into normal. When icing is not detected, we'll notice it here. So we'll leave the wing right here and engine icing, or anti-icing rather, on. Clouds look phenomenal today, as they do every day, I think. So once we get past 18,000 feet, we'll get into the standard altimeter, which is 2993. We just have to pull the switch and it will put us to 2993. We have to 92 rather, 299 or 2. We have to manually set it here. I was thinking on the metric system, which is 10, 13. Imperial is 10, 9, 9 or 2. So you can see the plane got the Kevco. The plane is automatically moving us. I'll just put it on terrain here so you can see a little better. We didn't need it on terrain leaving. We know Montreal is fairly flat. It's heading from, let's say, Calgary out either east or west because there are mountains there. I would have had that terrain on right from the beginning. Let's just go here, see if we can get the system. There we go. It tells me the fuel used, the oil, everything's fine. Temperature in the cabins, everything was good. Past 18,000 feet. Hold that to be standard. And let's make this 2992.
Jazz 8017, you are trace 6 miles northeast. Descend and maintain 10,000 feet. Expect vectors ILS runway 24 left approach.
So not us, obviously, but so that's a real plane. So ice not detected. We're above the ice.
Descend and maintain 10,000 feet. Expect vectors ILS runway 24 left approach. Jazz 8017.
Those solid line here. We're getting up to 21,000 feet. We'll get a call to go higher.
Air Canada 227, climb and maintain flight level 330.
Climb and maintain flight level 330 Air Canada 227.
So it's at this point back in the cabin that the flight crew is coming through, offering you papers, offering you the ability to purchase headsets, etc. You've seen what we're doing up here. Now it becomes a job of monitoring.
Air Canada 227, contact Montreal Center on 132.35.
132.35 Air Canada 227.
There it is changed.
Montreal Center Air Canada 227 is at flight level 225, climbing flight level 330.
Air Canada 227, Montreal Center, continue to Reykjavik as planned.
If the co-pilot wasn't handling the air traffic control,
Air Canada 227, contact Montreal Center on 128.225.
if I had to do it, I'd enter it in here. This is the
128.225 Air Canada 227.
enter the frequency in here. Push that button to move it
Montreal
over here.
Center Air Canada 227 is at flight level 235, climbing flight level 330.
Air Canada 227, Montreal Center, continue to Reykjavik as planned.
It's Reykjavik. You can see here we've been 21 minutes since we pushed back. 10 minutes and 15 seconds since we started our roll. Just past Reykjavik. Mobile, I guess is our next waypoint. 30 nautical miles. We'll be there at 1925 here. Move over. Zoom in. It's 1921, almost 1922. This is UTC time. It's a real time. So we'll be there in 3 minutes. A lot of airlines have a rule of clean cockpit below 10,000 feet. And that has nothing to do with this coffee cup here and me taking a drink or putting it back. It means there's no talking other than anything to do with the flight and operating the aircraft. Above the 10,000 feet, you're allowed to have a conversation while you're monitoring all the systems, call in a flight attendant if you want coffee, tea, pop, dinner, lunch, breakfast, whatever's being served, etc. Now, one thing I'm going to do is I want to see how far we are from Montreal. So let's pull up here. Sky vector. Let's get some frequencies so you can actually see what's going on. There's Montreal there. Now this is the airport. The VOR is here, so it's a little off, but it gives us an indication. 116.3. Let's go down here to NavRad. RadNav, radio navigation, 116.3. And put in VOR2. Let's turn VOR2 on. There we are. It's showing us CYUL. We're 77 miles from it, and it's pointing back that way. I can actually change this to be arc. You can see it's pointing back to where that VOR is. It gives us an indication. So let's move over here. And we're going to put in 115.1. 5.1 for Halifax. Turn that VOR on, and you'll see here we turn to 115.1. The information doesn't come up as it does here. The identical letters and no mileage. Once we get it in range, it will come up. That information will show up. Now, I could, if I wanted to, look at other VORs along the way and track and see when we actually pass Millcock, Bangor, etc. I won't be doing that today. Also, we could use the flight plan. So see here, 33,000 feet, we're at 30. Let's move that. So if I get called, or we get called, we'll know. Looking at the flight plan here. And let's just check this out. Mobile. We'll come down here, mobile. We should be 12 minutes into our flight right there. And we're a little bit less, or over that time rather, 14. So not too bad. The other thing we would do, now this is right here. They would have us at 31,000 feet right there. We're at 31.1. Pretty close, bang on. So that's pretty good. So I would monitor, look at fuel also in here, but we won't be doing all of that today. Longer flights, yes. Once we get out of range of the Montreal VOR, this information will be removed, and that end of that arrow will disappear. The arrow will disappear. See here, back to flight plan, which we're going to get called in a minute. Not even, we're at 33. Going to 33, we're at 32.5. ATC is going to call us to go up. So before I give an explanation, let's wait for that call. And
Air Canada 227, climb and maintain flight level 390.
Climb and maintain flight level 390 Air Canada 227.
Now you'll see when we get up to 390, the flight management computer will automatically level us off and keep us at the prescribed airspeed. And here's the wind that we have up here at the moment, 285 degrees, and it's at 65 knots. 285 degrees is almost right behind us, which is where it's showing. So we're getting a bit of a tailwind, which is great. true airspeed that we're traveling is 452 knots, but the wind is pushing us up to 513 knots. And down here, Halifax, runway 23. Computer estimates we're going to be there at 2009, and right now it is 1928. So about 41 minutes from now, we have 351 miles to go, nautical miles, and the fuel on board 2.4 out of the 4.6. Now we do take enough fuel. I didn't go through the fuel or the flight planning with you. We take enough fuel on board for the flight. That takes into account the winds, the distance we have to travel, how heavy we'll be, which includes the number of passengers, estimated weight, baggage, etc. It includes hold time, should we have to hold. It includes enough fuel to go to an alternative, or the alternate should we not be able to land, in this case today. Let's get back to the map. If we can't land here in Halifax today, this is the alternative, CYQM, that the plane will have enough fuel to get to, with holds, etc. All of that is put into the flight planning, and I don't have to worry about it. But you can see we have great weather. You can't see it. The green dot means good weather. So that's good. So what I want to do, we always try to plan ahead. Let's go back to the McDo, over to ATSU, which is talking to company, which is Air Canada. You can see here, I didn't put these airports in, but
Air Canada 227, contact Boston Center on 124.25.
Going to 124.25 Air Canada 227.
when we put in the flight plans, it clicked in here.
Boston Center Air Canada 227 is at flight level 365, climbing flight level 390.
Air Canada 227, Boston Center, continue to Ebony as planned.
I push send, which sends a message off to Air Canada Flight Ops, because I've been telling them I wanted the METAR or the weather. Rio, I don't care too much about Montreal unless I have to go back. I'm really looking for Halifax. Came up here, company message, since I've received a message. And we look at the METAR. Before we do that, to show you here, this blue arrow, when that shows us when we will be at the 39,000 feet that we have put in to our flight management up here. So here is the weather. I want to push print. And I'll actually start printing out here. But let's have a look at it. 1900. And right now the time is 1931, so it's 31 minutes old. They usually update once an hour unless it's very bad weather. Winds 210 at 9, gusting to 15. 15 statute mile visibility. A few clouds at 3,600 feet. Some scattered at 7,200 feet. Broken 11,000. 12 degrees. And the altimeter, which is right here, barometric pressure we've been putting in, 2953. So I can just tear this off here and put it there. Now what it's very interesting, if the sun, you can see it's on the co-pilot side, if the sun was actually shining in here, I would not be able to read this. It would be too bright on that white paper. So you can see here, this is Halifax. This is why I keep this out to the 320. This is Halifax here. I'll start lowering that as we get closer. I like keeping this one at 40 nautical miles. I can see other planes should be in range. They will come up 2,000 feet above or below me. I'll know whether I have to make some adjustments. You don't rely on your traffic control to make those adjustments. You should know what's going on around you.
Boston Center Delta 15 is out at flight level 405 for 10,000 feet. Delta 15 Boston Center, continue as planned.
So you can see here the information from Montreal is gone. Excuse me. So I'm just going to check here to see if we can find DL15.
Air Canada 227, contact Boston Center on 120.25.
120.25 for Air Canada 227. Boston Center Air Canada 227 flight level 390. Air Canada 227 Boston Center, continue to Ebony as planned.
And Delta 15, I just looked it up on an app called Flight Radar 24. You can just get the app, or you can go on the web and look it up. Delta 15 is a flight from Frankfurt to Atlanta, and it's an A330. So actual plane, actual flight. When we were taxiing out in Montreal, should there have been any planes taxiing out, taxiing in, landing, we would have seen them. So right now with COVID, not the same number of flights. So traffic is not as busy, but we still have to be as attentive. So you'll have heard me say on other flights that I've done, I'm always monitoring, going through, so looking at our airspeed, looking at the altimeter, looking at our compressor here, the altimeter, making sure we are on our flight plan, looking at the systems here, making sure that they look good, checking our fuel, checking in here for the fuel, etc., and temperature for the cabins, for the comfort of our passengers. Now that we have, go back here, our weather report, and we might get another one. They usually come in at the top of the hour in North America, so we'll see. We can go go back to our flight management computer and flight plans, where I'd like to keep it. Should we are asked to go direct to, say, Logpo, Movex, we can actually do that fairly quickly instead of having to get back to that page. We will be asked by the computer at some point, when I've entered destination information, either put in the information that we've got here, or I will check to see if there's new information depending on what time it is. So it usually comes in top of the hour in North America. So we're 35 minutes from pushback. We've been 25 minutes in the air now. Let's see how we're doing here at Ebony. Come down here. We should be 35 minutes at Ebony. Now we're over here. We've got 36, 48, so we got an extra 12 minutes to go. So 37 minutes, and that's the 2 minutes behind. It's supposed to be 35 minutes, we'll be 37 minutes, 2 minutes behind, and that's because we took off to the west. We take off to the west, and turn back to the east, so we're looking pretty good. Getting our passengers there on time. And one thing I don't track in this plane, it doesn't have enough to do that, to change, but I often, our flight plans, the way I set it up, will give us 15 minutes of taxi, then it'll give us the, in this case, the 1 hour and 3 minutes we saw for wheels up to touchdown, and then 10 minutes of taxi to the gate. So it didn't take 15 minutes of taxi to go from pushback to clearance to start our roll. So even though I think it was about 7 or 8 minutes, might have been more than that, I don't remember. But it wasn't the full 15. So we're actually probably right on time, or a little bit early, to get into Halifax. The nice thing about being on autopilot, not that there's much to see up here except clouds today, but you do get to do a bit of sightseeing, chatting with my co-pilot. It's unfortunate that you can't get the co-pilot actually to be in there.
Air Canada 227, contact Boston Center on 124.25. Going to 124.25 Air Canada 227. Boston Center Air Canada 227, flight level 390.
Air Canada 227, Boston Center, continue to Ebony as planned.
Now, one thing we can do that you can't do in a real plane is actually get outside of the plane. Here we are. Very loud. Oh, there's a plane here. Some of the icing picked up and gone away. But there we are. Alright, there are some co-pilots today. Very loud outside the plane. But it's nice we can do that. Snapshot if we want. Let's just do that. Took a snapshot. Might use that as the front of the video when we put it up. We'll see. Maybe the one on the ground will be that. So you can see here we're at the ring of 240 out. I'll bring that one down. Now we're at 120, twice that out. So that's okay. When we get here to Ebony, so we're going to make a little bit of a left turn. The winds are now 63. 64 knots, 63 knots from 290, 291. Let's come here. Up here, remember it was 285 before, which is there, so they've shifted a little bit. And they're actually still very fortuitous right at our tail, pushing us along. True airspeed 451, ground speed 514. Now 450, 451. That is the normal speed that we fly at in the Airbus A320 Neo. See here it's 0.78. That's Mach 78. And right now the engines are having to work at about 82% of the thrust because we've got a great tailwind. Should the tailwind be not there and we have a headwind to keep the 450, then we would have to be flying greater than the 82%. And if you recall, our cost index was 8. Our cost index would have been much higher, more than average, about 20, it might have been 25 or 30 to compensate. And of course we'd be using more fuel, which means the flight would be less profitable. This flight would be more profitable because we're using less fuel because of the tailwind. Yeah, so you saw the co-pilot from outside. It's too bad you can't mimic the co-pilot in here. And when you get up very close to the co-pilots or the pilots outside, you actually see them moving their heads, looking around. A neat little feature. Everything's fine here. 2009 still. That was 2008, 2009, 227 miles, 226 miles to go. And the fuel on board 1.8. I'm using a new parameter, so that won't be right. I'm sure we won't be using that much fuel from 4,000 down. I will have to double check to see which amount they're using here. This is a firmware modification. It is absolutely fantastic. Works almost as well as some of the payware that you get, which is study level. As you can see, we do everything basically the way they do in real life. So it is studied level. I'll have to double check to see what that number is. We will not be that low. So let's see where we are. We don't need this one anymore. Navigraph. We're over Maine. And this is Canada here. That's the border between the States and Canada, the Bay of Fundy. Yeah. Getting there. I would think today, I'm not sure if it's a full service flight or not, or whether it's just beverage and snack. My sense would be beverage and snack the time of day that we're flying. We're actually a time zone away. Time zone difference between Montreal and Halifax. Halifax is 1 hour earlier, or later rather, than Montreal. So right now it is 19:45 here. That's UTC time. It is 15:45 in Montreal, which is 3:45. But because of the hour difference, it is 4:45 in Halifax. So you'll be arriving and there's some time to head out for dinner. Now the simulation does model the sun moving across the sky, the effect when it becomes twilight and then dark, becomes night, etc. Lights come on down on the ground. We can see them here because of the clouds, but all of that is modeled. The moon is modeled. Everything is in there. This is live weather, so it's modeled after what's actually going on. If below us it is raining in real life, it will be raining in the simulation. If it's snowing, they'll be doing that. If there's thunder and lightning, we'll have that. If it's a beautiful day with only a few cumulus clouds, that's what we'll get in the game. And the winds should be from the proper direction. And the altimeter, right here, that 29902 above 18,000 feet, or is it 2953? 2953 at Halifax. That is modeled also. So that's low pressure. The average is 2992. So 2953 is low pressure.
Air Canada 227, contact Boston Center on 133.45.
133.45 Air Canada 227. Boston Center Air Canada 227 flight level 390.
Air Canada 227 Boston Center, continue to Albany as planned.
Just want to put that up as we move back over here. This is Albany right here. And we've been asked to contact a different Boston Center, so our co-pilot will be doing that. So right here you can see the border, but also these lines here represent air traffic control borders. So once we do pass Ebony, pretty soon we'll be asked to contact Halifax Center. Back here, follow our flight. And let's move this back. It's amazing how much is actually modeled in these planes now with the electronic flight bag. This is a totally freeware product. Absolutely amazing. I believe they are going to be putting into the electronic flight bag. Here we're making our turn at Ebony. Just that little left turn. They are going to be modeling into here all of the charts that I'm seeing and looking at over here, which will be absolutely phenomenal. Just for a sec, let's put the air traffic control up so I can chat to you.
Air Canada 227, contact Moncton Center on 124 decimal tree.
Moncton Center, sorry, not Halifax.
124 decimal tree for Air Canada 227. Moncton Center, Air Canada 227, flight level 390.
Air Canada 227, Moncton Center, continue as planned.
So, this area is not to scale on the map, which is why our airplane doesn't show up as that triangle here. Just past Ebony. Once we get past here, we will show up and we will follow this path into Movox, up to Longbow, to Duter, and then in, and we'll actually be following from Duter in here. There'll be some things we have to do when we get there to make this all happen, but not at the moment. But it will all show up in there, and all of that, let's just bring this back up, all of that will show up in this electronic flight bag. So it already does for some payware aircraft, especially in the older FlightSim 10, FlightSim X. This version of FlightSim that I'm using came out August of 2020, and it is just phenomenal. So all of the people who are putting payware together, they're getting their planes already, programming behind this, get it to act like a real plane. All the systems, etc. is, I just can't imagine. It is just phenomenal. And that this plane is all done freeware by people just for the love of it. Even more incredible. So you can see here, Halifax is getting even closer. We were at the 240 ring, now we're just at the 120 ring. It won't be long before we actually get a call to start the descent. It's usually around 120 nautical miles out, but don't forget we're coming down here, hanging left and coming around, so it's actually more than that. So you can see here we've got the enter destination data prompt coming up, 1951. I don't think there'll be another weather report, so let's go ahead and put it into performance. We can always check. Performance, approach phase, activate QNH, 2953.
Air Canada 227, descend and maintain flight level 310.
There we go.
Descend and maintain flight level 310, Air Canada 227.
It should start to descend. Oh, it does that sometimes. I don't know why. Don't know why it does that in this plane. Still figuring that out. So we want to get direct to Movox. Let's, before we finish this, Halifax, enter. There we are direct to Livery. We'll turn to the right there. Not sure why, I haven't figured that out. So I'm a Boeing boy, not an Airbus, part of the Boeing brigade, not the Airbus army. But we'll keep our eye on it. So back to performance data, the temperature is 12 degrees. Winds 210 at 9. We don't put the gusting in. Transition altitude is 18,000. And 200 will be our decision height. Radio here. Our approach, 130 knots. So we'll be slowing to 130 knots when we get there. So we are descending. You can see the plane has automatically cycled us back to this from where we were. Now we're at this speed. Trying to put the seatbelt sign on so that all of our passengers get back in their seats. I do find, and it could just be me, compared to the Boeing, this airspeed comes down way too soon, way too low. I would have thought we would have been way up here still, 260 knots. You can be 250 above.
Americanata 227, contact Moncton Center on 123.9.
So a little low, but we'll just go with the computer.
Going to 123.9 Air Canada 227. Moncton Center Air Canada 227 is out of flight level 350 for flight level 310.
Air Canada 227 Moncton Center, continue as planned.
So as we descend, a few things we do. Through 18,000 feet, we'll go on to the actual barometric pressure. Lights we'll put on. Lights we normally put on at 10,000 feet, but because there's so much to do in these planes, and I'm the only one doing it, I often put the lights on after we pass 18,000 feet. We'll worry about the auto brake. We'll worry about the speed brakes, which are here. And we'll have to engage the flaps at some point as we get closer in our approach. And obviously the wheels. The landing gear will go down. Let's just double check. I'll show you something here. 1099 is the frequency for, should be. Let's go here. For runway 23. 1099 India Juliet Gulf is the indicator there. So we'll need that. We won't need it later on, but it's good to have just so we know we actually got the right waypoint mark. Runway tuned in. You can see here, VOR now is identifying Halifax Yankee Hotel Zulu. We're 100, now 99 nautical miles as the crow flies. So we'll get lower here. We're getting closer to 31,000. We'll call for lower.
Air Canada 227 descend and maintain flight level 230.
Descend and maintain flight level 230 Air Canada 227.
I just wanted it a blast in the game instead of Air Canada. It's actually Air Canada. How they came up with that phonetically, I can see, but it's a major airline. Why they haven't got it right, I have no idea. Maybe that's a bug that they'll figure out, and they'll switch it. Several bugs still in the game, minor bugs, but they're getting rid of them all. And maybe that's one they'll get rid of. Just calling it Air Canada. You can turn off VOR too. Not turned into anything, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to double check the 3200. 3600 is where there was some clouds, 7200. So your flight attendants will be coming through, picking up last of the garbage, etc., ensuring your seat backs are upright, tray tail is up and stowed, you know the drill. And then once they've got everything settled and secure for landing, they'll then take their positions. Interested to see what they do here. They being flight management computer. So that little loop there that we saw earlier, we should just go right to Mavics, Logpo, and then up to Deuter, and then in shouldn't be this loop here. So we'll keep an eye on it. I will have to select landing services and approach when we get closer. Yeah, a little bit of air pocket there, turbulence. You saw the plane go up and down. Just want to check here, 3,000 feet. That's what I thought. Let's go over here. We should be getting close to Mavics, where we'll actually show up. It'll be long before we're actually starting to descend through the clouds. We might get icing today, which again, we'll turning on these switches, but only if we need to. Don't use systems that we don't need to. Wear them out. More turbulence. Oh, look at here. Wind 120. Is it here? 128. The wind was actually jet stream higher when we were down lower. Amazing how quickly that jet stream is. How quick it is. So we should get a call shortly to send some more. Sometimes the air traffic control wants you to stay at a certain altitude for a while. So we will do that.
Air Canada 227 descend and maintain 11,000 feet.
Descend and maintain 11,000 feet, Air Canada 227.
You see the arrow pointing off directly to Halifax. You'll notice here that I will be pushing down, which is actually pulling the knob, pushing the knob, causing it to, the plane to go down or up, causing, oh, more turbulence. If I push the knob in, I'm asking the flight management computer to actually fly the plane without input from me. If I pull down to the bottom, I'd be saying fly the heading that I want to fly or the speed that I want to fly. So we're letting the computer do everything right now. We're not descending, so let's descend at the moment. See what we can do here. is putting our speed brake on. You can see we were above this green and we dot.
Air Canada 227, please expedite your descent to 11,000 feet.
That
Air
didn't allow
Canada
us.
227, you are 50 miles west. Descend and maintain 3,000 feet. Keep speed below 210 knots. Expect ILS runway 23 approach by deter transition. Clear to deter.
Perfect, exactly what we expected.
Descend and maintain 3,000 feet. Keep speed below 210 knots. Expect ILS runway 23 approach via Dodder transition. Cleared to Dodder Air Canada 227.
And it's at this point where we would have to, if we got a different runway, get back to that flight management computer and put in the different runway information. But we don't have to do that today. Sometimes I find in the simulation, in the ATC, in the game, it doesn't give you a lot of time to do change things. When you're flying on FlightSim, you get notification much earlier of what's going on, what possible action you may need to take. For example, which runway you're landing on. Now we're close enough to 48 miles. We should be able to get the ATIS. We'll just see if we can do that. See if it's here. See, it's showing up right there. 121 should be 121. ATIS, and that is the weather. So let's see if we change this here. 121. See if we get the ATIS.
Charlie, Quebec Tree Airport information, Whiskey 2000 Zulu. Wind 269er at 22. Visibility 15. Air Canada 227, contact Moncton Center on 135.3.
135.3 for Air Canada 227. Moncton Center Air Canada 227 is out of flight level 200 for 3,000 feet. Air Canada 227 Moncton Center, continue to Dodder as planned.
So we could have got it, but what I'm going to do is go in here, since we're at 5 minutes past the hour. Come in here, company side, request the weather, send, go back here, we get the company message here. Let's have a look. This weather was sent at 1900, up here 1900. It is now 20:05, so hopefully we'll have an updated weather. Company message, receive the message. See, we viewed this one, here's the new one. Let's print it. So we've got it, but it's still 1900, so didn't actually need to print it the same. Do flight management computer, go back to the flight plan. And where am I here? 2953 was it? 2953. And I'll need that because we're just coming past the 18,000, so put it on actual 2953 and we'll put the standby on 2953. So if one goes out, we've got the other. It's just a safety precaution. So we're now heading to Logpo. Come through the clouds, and I didn't even see it. Sorry, didn't get you to see it because we're too busy with trying to get the weather. No icing, obviously, or we would have got. Well, there we go. We had icing at this level. Interesting. Thought there wouldn't have been icing once we got below the clouds, but there is. So we're asked to stay below the 210 knots, which we are. We have to be below 240 under 10,000 feet, so that's okay. There'll be a lot to do, so let's throw on all of our lights. Often, real world, you do that at below 10,000. Said there's a lot to do, so I try to do it beforehand. go over here, see if the real, still showing 1900, first line there, weather station just below it. Charlie Yankee Hotel Zulu. 02 is the day, 1900 is the hour, so it hasn't been updated. Charts, you see we're heading longboat up to Tudor. There we are, longboat. Should go straight to Tudor. This should not make us turn left. I'm hoping. In Boeing it doesn't. Not sure why it's showing that. So it's freeware, so they might not have that settled out yet. We'll see. I will shortly have to do a flight for you in the Boeing 787. There's been a new mod for that. I won't say it was unflyable beforehand, but the new mod that they put out makes it incredible to fly. Not as much detail yet. It's in the 320 Neo that we're flying today, but they're getting there. So I'm going to pull this down to 10 nautical miles. Pull this down to 20. You see here we're pointing to Halifax Airport, and it's about 1 o'clock over there. Now it's pointing to the airport, not the city of Halifax. Just a small distinction. Here's the city of Halifax, Dartmouth right here. It's pointing over here. This is where the VOR actually is. So if we wanted to look out our window, and there it is. There's Halifax, Dartmouth right there, Halifax Harbor. So I just want to keep my eye on here to see what happens after longboat. If we go straight to Detour. Since we have slowed down, looking at 2016, getting in, and what I will often do, and I didn't today, I haven't been doing it in the Airbus, but I will go by in our flight plan. We have here the actual time of departure. I will stick to that. And so we'll know here, up here, actual time of departure. If we left at 1900, we were to be at the gate at 2025. We might be close to that actually. I didn't check leaving. Might be close to that. They have us into Halifax in 2017. So we'll see. Certainly we won't be late, more than 15 minutes late. That's when it's late. So ice not detected. We can turn off the anti-ice again. So let's keep an eye here, see if we go straight to Detroit. You see here that the chart was calling for 4,000 at Detroit. We'll see now. We've got our turn. We'll see what happens. Oh, it may. I wonder if it's going to do that so that it makes it easier to swing in. Okay. There we go. Now we're heading into Detour. You see we're descending here at 1,500 feet. 1,400 feet per minute. We've been an hour since we started our roll, an hour 11. So we're an hour 12. So it's interesting. We've been an hour 12. We actually did leave right at 1900. Didn't plan. I usually look for that, but so let's put on landing service. It'll help guide us here. See what we've got. ILS quite slow. Remember, it was India Juliet Gulf 1099. That's it. The heading of the runway is 233. So not sure why we're going over there. Actually, we'll...
Air Canada 227, keep speed below 200 knots.
Speed.
Keep speed below 200 knots, Air Canada 227.
Let's go down to 190.
Air Canada 227, you are 9 miles north of Halifax. Contact Halifax Tower on 118.7 when inbound.
So I'm actually intervening here. We need to
Tower
get
on
down.
118.7, Air Canada 227. Halifax Tower, Air Canada 227, 10 miles north, inbound ILS runway 23 approach.
It doesn't
Air Canada
always...
227 Halifax Tower. Cleared ILS runway 23 approach. Altimeter 29.53, wind 229 at 15.
So we still have the pressure, which is the...
Cleared ILS runway 23 approach, Air Canada 227.
So I'm going to go past a bit and then come back in. This is the glide slope. We're still high. It didn't pull us in properly. And that's fine. This is freeware. It is absolutely amazing. And it could have been me trying to explain things to you, and I wasn't as attentive as I should be. Quite possible. So it could be totally my error. I know we weren't asked to go above 200. So I guess we'll back up to 1500. Let's extend the speed brakes. Slow us down. Let's see here. Speed brakes are extended. If we actually go, there they are. They're up. You can see that from the plane sitting in the back. So we have to come down to 4. So I want to turn now. Let's see here, Ross, which is where we want to go. 200 degrees. 202. 205 for the moment. There it is there. Not a bad day here in Nova Scotia. Cloudy. Nice. What's the temperature? 12. It's the runway right there. So come in a little bit here so we head right to there. Back a little bit. Gone a little bit too far for the runway, but we will come back. There it is there. So we'll go about here. Pick it up again. Down to 3,000. Getting there. To 3. Flaps. 1. Let's bring the speed brake up. And let's set it so that it will automatically come on when we land. There's the glide slope. So let's put an approach on. So the plane will actually fly the approach. Should anyway. When this chevron centers, we should go to the left. When this chevron centers here, we should start our descent. If it doesn't, we'll take it off autopilot and I'll hand fly it in. Should be able to get one more FlightSim 2. I will take it off autopilot to land it. Although it's supposed to be a new feature here that you can, that the plane will auto land itself. Cat 3 single, I think we may have it. So when we get closer, I will press the autopilot 2. Plane should flare, do everything itself. Which is brand new. I've not done that in this plane yet. Oh, the wind is, you can see here, 34, really pushing us off. So we'll see here. We should start to descend soon. Let's go down to 170. And are we descending? And there we go. Let's see if we get Cat 2. No, it's not. It should be, but it's not picking it up. So let's take it off autopilot. We will descend ourselves. We are now flying the plane. I think we got it cleared to land now, cleared for the approach. So I want to make sure that we have brakes.
2,500.
Not sure.
Air Canada 227 cleared to land runway 23. Wind 229er at 15.
Okay, gear down. That's what that was.
Clear to land runway 23 Air Canada 227.
229er at 15, so just about right in our face, which is pretty good. So flaps, remember it was 133, I think it was. We're down to 135 on the speed. I'm flying the plane, but the plane is doing the auto throttle. So I will be watching the diamond here and here, trying to give you a very nice touchdown. So the computer on board is only handling the throttle at the moment. I'm flying the plane. Still being pushed. Interesting, we're only 1,400 feet.
1,000.
That was the flight management computer telling us they were 1,000 feet above the ground. It's interesting that the wind swifts on the ground at 229 right now. It's at 270 right here. So we'll see actually what happens. I want to land about, if I can, no more than 300 feet per minute. Is what is showing up here. We'll see. The smoother I do it, the better you'll like it. Keep an eye on that wind. It's 261 and 15. The tree's just phenomenal. We're right on the localizer.
500.
Too low, terrain.
That's
Too
interesting.
low, terrain.
Yeah, we're landing.
Too low, terrain.
400.
Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain.
300.
Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain.
200.
Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain. Too
It's an
low,
interesting
terrain.
call because we're not too low.
Too low, terrain.
50.
Too low, terrain.
20. Retard. 10.
The retard
5.
is for reverse thrusters on. The retard is to tell me. Interesting, the reverse thrusters are not kicking in today. I wonder why. Doesn't matter. We're slowing it down anyway. Have to figure that one out. That's new. Reverse thrusters almost always work. So we're going to just put the speed brake up, put the flaps all the way up, and we'll just roll out here. Why it didn't pick up those reverse thrusters, I don't know. Brake fan. The brakes are pretty hot here. See, I had to use them to slow down. Delaying takeoff for cooling.
American Auto 227 exit runway when able.
We won't be cooling. Taking off for a while, but we do want to cool them down. When we start that, this is the first time I've had to do that actually. Cool them after we leave the runway here. So we actually might get to see. No. So.
American Auto 227 contact ground on 121.9er.
Going to 121.9er Air Canada 227.
So I have to get this over here and then ask for going to the gates, and our co-pilot will handle
Halifax
it from there.
ground Air Canada 227
Turn the
taxi to the
APU on.
gate. Air Canada 227 taxi to gate 7 via taxiway Alpha.
Gate 7 is where we're going today.
Taxiing to gate 7 using taxiway Alpha Air Canada 227.
See the fans on. Cooling down here, which is great. I don't want to use any brakes if I have to. Unless I have to, rather. I have the throttle right back, going at ground speed of 21. I'll try to, there, got that off. Just clear that message. Brake fan on. Let's see what happens if we take that brake fan off. Cooled the brake down sufficiently, so that's very good. AP2 available. Once we turn the engine off, both engines off, we will have still power to keep all the electronics running, air conditioning running, etc. So I'm going to put it down fairly well. No bounce. I'm just curious why that reverse thrust didn't work. I may have to reassign a key for that. We'll see. First time it's not worked. And it could be because I engaged the auto land. I'll have to do a little bit more practicing on that. But beautiful flight. Did I say 2025? It is 2026. So it'll just be a couple of minutes late getting in the gate. So you're doing the announcements. Possibly would have announced, which I didn't do, our passengers, what the temperature was in Halifax. Right now our cabin crew would be telling you about any connecting flights there are, thanking you for flying Air Canada. So I can turn off the runway light. I'm actually going to turn off the taxi light. We don't need it here at the moment. It's bright enough. And when we turn, we don't want to blind the marshals on the ground. Turn off the weather radar. I'm being cooked by the radar also. Let's make our turn in here. I find sometimes where the gates and the jetway bridges don't line up. This guy's just walking around, not very safe. Here's our marshal here. Let's slow down a little bit. Put the nose down so we can see better. And just a little bit more. Now that's interesting. The reverse thrust just worked. I don't know why. And there we go. Reverse thrust. So let's put that down. Let's see if turn our Well, let's do this first because you always want those passengers. They're just so eager to stand in the aisle rather than sit in their seat. There we go. Seatbelt off, lights. Sorry, that went to auto. Up. Should go to auto. There we are. See if the ground here. Click on this will actually bring this out. There it is. It's bringing it out. Bringing the jetway out. Do we have the catering here? Great. We'll bring in the baggage. Bring in the catering. And there we are, connecting. Let's go out here. Have a look. Doors open. Speed brakes down. Do it. Catering. Now, unfortunately in the game, they only put the luggage in. They don't take it out first and then put it in. But pretty cool. Can't add wheel chocks here, which are normally happen. But we're here in Halifax. So thank you for flying with Flight Dreams again. If you enjoyed this flight, this person's going to run right through. There we go. Hopefully you enjoyed the flight. And until next time, as always, 3 green and blue skies.